They're talking about you, you know. Your past self, your present self, and your future self are getting together and they're talking about you. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on that wall so you could know what your past self, what your present self, and what your future self are saying about you? Or better yet, wouldn't you like to be in control of that dialogue? Psst, guess what? I've got news for you. You are in control of that dialogue because ultimately they're all you. Now, here's an interesting concept to consider. We tend to think of time as being very linear. We think of this point in the past, now is the present, and this is where I'm going in the future. Okay? And we tend to see things in that way, as a straight line that leads from one point directly to another point. But in actuality, if you really think about it, the only moment that we ever really have is this present moment. And within that present moment, the past and the future both converge on the present moment. I'm bringing this up because of something that I'm wanting to explore with you, and we'll go a little more deeply with that here in a moment. I want to talk to you about a phenomenon that I find happens quite often when I'm doing consultations with people, most especially around the concept of prediction. Because quite often something will come up with a prediction where I will see something in the client's horoscope. And they, on their end, will go, there's no way all of those things are going to happen in such a short period of time. I don't see how I could go from living in a one-bedroom flat to living in my dream house within like a matter of months. Why is that the case? Well, because right now I'm in that one-bedroom flat. There's a roach crawling across the floor. I'm having to stay on top of the cleaning pretty much daily. I have no room to move in, and I'm feeling a bit claustrophobic, and it's just not the most ideal of conditions. So I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that dream house. I'm not feeling that better life, fill in the blank with whatever that better life is all about. So when you're not feeling it, when you're not feeling where you ultimately can be in the future, then it's hard to think of yourself as being there. And sure, not every prediction is 100% correct. That is a given, and that is something when it comes to astrology that is really important to understand. And obviously, that's going to make it in situations such as that, where when somebody has been through a position where they've heard a prediction before and it didn't come out 100% correct, where they're going to be a little bit apprehensive and approach things with a greater degree of doubt. But let's explore this concept a little more deeply. Let's go beneath the surface with it. So we've already looked at the concept of prediction. We understand, there's no such thing as a perfect prediction. But I've experienced many instances where predictions come true. I've experienced many instances like what I was telling you about just then, where a person finds themselves in one particular moment in time where things are less than ideal, and then within a month and a half, everything is going to turn around like miraculously for them, and they'll be in a completely different life. And I've seen that happen with people, and they don't feel it at that first moment. And then when they get to that other moment in time where, something has actually come true for them, then they go, wow, that's amazing that everything changed so quickly. And that's because, as I was saying before, when we're in the present moment and we feel as if that present moment is not ideal, it's hard to really feel anything else other than that. But what if you could? There we go. There's a game changer. Now, naturally, on one level, we feel what we feel. It's just natural. It's what we feel. But we can work with mindset in the moment in order to alter that. We can work with visualization in order to visualize it. We can work with affirmation to help us through the process. There's so much that we can do. So let's go back to astrology for a moment. I mean, this is all about astrology, but let's go back to astrology from the predictive level and the therapeutic level for a moment. So with predictive astrology, there is no concrete predictive technique, in other words, predicting concrete events, that is 100% accurate 100% of the time. There's many different reasons for that. There's the whole concept of, perhaps the birth time is incorrect. That's one thing. In addition to that, it's just that the universe doesn't want us to be able to be perfect predictors. And that also gives rise to the fact that how you approach a situation that you're dealing with has an impact upon the outcome. Okay? It's the random factor that comes into the equation that can change things at any given moment in time. So we have at the foundation, prediction is not perfect. Here's another thing, understanding yourself through astrology. Understanding yourself, knowing your habits, both the good and the bad ones, that is something that is phenomenally much more accurate in astrology than prediction could ever be. Okay, does that mean we shouldn't predict? No, it doesn't mean we shouldn't predict, but it means that we should understand that the human component in the consciousness equation plays a big role. Okay, keep that in mind. The human component in the consciousness equation plays a big part. And that's one of the reasons why predictions go one way or the other. So don't blame yourself, like if a prediction comes true. At the same time, don't expect every prediction to come true. Sometimes we can use prediction to just get a forecast of the general turn of events, and sometimes a little more of the precise turn of events too, but there's no such thing as a perfect prediction. So as I said too, understanding yourself through astrology is phenomenally much more accurate than that predictive level. Here's another thing I want to explore with you though. The planetary periods of Vedic astrology, which we also call Vimshottari Dasha, are connected to the lunar mansions, also known as the nakshatras. I'm speaking simply, I know a lot of you know the terminology. There's a lot of newcomers to my channel and to my social media who are not familiar with these terms. So as I've mentioned before, I'm going to make it easier for them over these coming videos. So the planetary periods of Vedic astrology, or Vimshottari Dasha as it's called, are connected to the lunar mansions or nakshatras. So the nakshatras, the lunar mansions, are connected on one level to the moon. The moon relates to our consciousness, to our sensory mind, to the subjective experience of us as individuals going through the experience of consciousness. That's a really powerful thing, but at the same time, it's a subjective experience. It's very colored by your emotions. It's very colored by your experience of feeling fulfilled or unfulfilled. So what if in the present moment, you could understand a future moment in time? And what if in the present moment, you could align yourself with your future self in a manner that gives you more empowerment in relation to where things are going, to where things are ultimately going to end up. I'll give you an example. We'll start with the more difficult example, okay? We'll start with the example of you. We look at someone's horoscope and we see that a less than ideal set of circumstances is going to approach. Well, we work with the person in their present self to strengthen them, to give them power, to give them awareness, to strengthen their mindset in a manner where they're going to approach whatever situation comes their way in a really positive manner. That has an impact on the outcome of that situation. While it may not be able to necessarily make that situation go completely away, it reduces the negative impact of it. It's probably the best way to say it. And let's say we see a good situation, a positive turn of events coming your way. Think of how much more powerful that event can be if you're aligning with your future self in a manner that's much more empowered in the present moment in time. Do you see how much potential astrology has to take you far beyond the concept of prediction to the experience of empowerment? This is a concept I'm going to be exploring in the coming weeks, the whole concept of the future ideal self that you want to become, where you are in your present life, how to align with that future self so that ultimately you get to that moment in time in a much more empowered manner. If you'd like to begin to experience a little bit of this work where I'm going to give you prediction and beyond to empowerment, the Empower Hours are a good place to start. Those are going to be available at the link that is just above. If you'd like a little bit of a deeper experience, there's also a 6-week program that is available either on a one-to-one basis or a group basis. I'll give you a link to the one-to-one program, which is above, called the Empowerment Experience. From there, you should be able to find a link to the other. Thanks for coming on and watching this talk. This is a concept that I've been exploring much more deeply in my own personal meditation and personal thought processes, and it's something I want to begin to help you with more in the future. Take care. Bye now.